and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined as always by Matt and Shad. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Doing all right.
Doing good.
Matt had a little bit of an incident before we went on air, but we won't discuss the artistic leanings of his children.
Yeah, it was not a diarrhea lettuce situation. No.
Okay,
No.
that's good. We don't need that to come back.
So,
My young children doing something naughty that I had to go run. See, my wife needed assistance in dealing with small demon children.
stop oppressing your children's artistic expression on your walls.
No.
I appreciate their artistic expression, just not on my walls. I'm not like a free form. I don't need like a Jackson Pollock, just splatter paint on my drywall. Like that's not what I'm looking for.
So this episode we had this kind of came out of a random challenge Shad had in the chat, which was
I can tell you where it came from. I was crashed out. I was laying there getting ready to go to sleep, and all of a sudden this thought hit in my head. What's the best 15-minute match? And I went, best 15-minute match, and then I rolled over and finally went to sleep after I got that thought out of my head.
And when he first did it, I thought it was hard, and then I blew it up pretty quick. Because I cheated at first, and I did the Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonner fight from the end of Ultimate Fighter, which is 15 minutes, but it is.
Here's the thing, though. I don't count that one because it's broken into rounds, and it's not a wrestling match. That's a different thing. Don't get me wrong. That fight's awesome. There's a reason that fight is remembered in such a big way. But
we should do that. We should legitimately do that one episode.
I remember watching it live.
Yeah, me too. Because that kind of made them largely. Well, it got them more popular, and then Tito and Ken blew them up really big. That's kind of when they went to like the next step. So then I kind of blew the concept up because then I did Rey Mysterio versus Eddie from Halloween Havoc 97, and then Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat from Mania 3. So
we're done. That challenge is over now.
And then he said 10 minutes, and then I figured there's more wiggle room there, but Tully Blanchard versus Magnum TA, the I Quit Cage matches, I think about 10 minutes.
So the reason that I brought that up, because what I had been doing is pondering on something. It's not just televised, right? You know, I'm working in an indie again, and there's going to be gripes about how long the match is, or what are we going to do? We're going to go that long? Are we going to cut stuff out? Blah, 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 blah. And what I was thinking about was, okay, if we were going to have I'm not going to say your average or your median match length for a TV match, because frankly, that's going to throw it off. But if I say, what's a typical regular show match? It doesn't have to be TV. But your typical regular show match, TV, house show, indie, whatever, typically you get around 10 minutes. If there's not anything. So you're running into a little bit of a limitation, but lots of great artistic decisions come out of bumping against limitations, And
I think
Jaws was what it was because the shark didn't work.
And you don't want to wear your crowd out. Like I think that's why I remember like the NXT shows I've been to in Chikara so well. Because I look back at the Chikara show I went to, and only 2 matches went longer than 10 minutes. And one of them being the main event, which went like 18 minutes, I think. So I think like having a brisk pace, I think my general philosophy is, unless you're like Ring of Honor or some work rate fed, is I think if I was booking, I would prefer foregoing a little bit of match quality to keep like the show moving and brisk and like having people leave and being like, "Oh, that was fun. I had a lot of fun." Because I think when you I think as long as like you keep the crowd's interest up, like they don't care as much about if unless the matches outright suck. But I think like if you're going out there and you're aiming for 2.5 star matches versus 3 star matches, I don't think your crowd's gonna care that much.
Right. You just the way I think about it is a typical show match is one that is engaging but doesn't wear the crowd out.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, you don't need to be seeking a 5 star classic in that time period. That's you really want to kick your stuff in gear when you're getting showcased. Have you
Yeah,
got a big block of time on the show? Do you have a pay-per-view match? Something like that.
yeah,
So, you want to take your time and make the most of what you have, but don't give away the whole store for it.
yeah,
And so the idea of, well, if it's 10 minutes and that's the typical kind of thing, who works the best magic in the and it my pondering was also, okay, if a match goes too long, that spoils it. Ring of Honor self flatulating main event kind of stuff.
yeah.
That
And if it's too
that
short,
yeah, well, I'm sorry, like, but
no,
I
no, no,
agree.
go
Like
ahead, go
that,
ahead.
some of the stuff we've seen from Ring of Honor, from the aughts, it's like they really didn't. There's always like, oh, you hit the sweet spot. It's like a lot of times
Mm-mm.
they hit the sweet spot and then blew right past it on the freeway, and it's like let's go another like 10, 15 minutes. Like no, no. Or since you mentioned it's an NXT was mentioned, I remember back to like let's have a 55-minute Johnny Gargano Adam Cole match. It's like you don't need that. You
Yeah.
don't. I
Because
don't.
that
I'm not. I'm
because
not married to the idea like it needs to be things need to be a 15-minute match. But
yeah, but takeovers started to like lose their luster when the main events were always starting around 9, 10, and you were just like, oh, or how like a Cody match is just going to be 35 minutes flat all the time now.
ugh,
Yeah.
I think so. What I think the issue is you need to keep the crowd on their toes. So like if you're turning into like All Japan in 97 where the crowd just doesn't give a shit until 20 minutes have passed, you're working too long too often. Um,
Yeah.
and generally I think for a house show, if I was booking one, I think my two longest matches would be the match before intermission and the main event is where I probably do my two longest matches.
mhm. It- I
Cuz
I
I
feel like the main event usually should be like the longest match,
yeah.
generally, or it should be a longish match. Like that's where you're gonna put because you want to give people like their value,
You want
right?
to send them off on
Hmm.
a climax.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what
So,
my thinking is like your two show climaxes should either be what should be the main event always, and then your other climax should be before intermission or after intermission.
so the way that I think of the way that I think of constructing a show is that your two best matches your main event. Why? Because that's what the whole show's building towards. But if your second best match should be the thing that hooks people in, which is why I'm of the opinion that should be in the opener spot.
Yeah, I agree.
Have that be right there so that you have a good match at the beginning and people are excited. But if that match is 10 minutes, but you've got an opportunity to stretch it a little bit, I understand putting it before the intermission because in that case, you've got you've got an opportunity to give everybody a break after the match is over.
Yeah, because you have to.
But I'm going to say you don't want you're going to run into this balance of should my second best match get more time, but I need my second best match to draw people in. So what am I going to do there?
I think that's kind of I think that's a balancing act because sometimes I think the opener should be your second or best match, but I think sometimes it being quicker is a good way to pep the crowd up and not wear them out early. But I also think going along with what you said, because I think you and I generally agree on card construction largely. I think you do have to
Yeah.
disperse like what you think your weakest matches are, like because I'll use a great example is the first Double or Nothing, where they had like the Cody Dustin match, which was like this real high point, and then the Bucks and Lucha Brothers came out right afterwards, and then they just died out there because the crowd was tired. Like, so like if you do something like Cody versus Dustin, then you need to follow it up with maybe like a women's match or like a squash match or like your Graps McGee like
You need
crap
something that's very different
or
than
intermission.
whatever that emotional high point was.
Yeah.
So if it were okay, this is just spitballing. Let's say that we just had Cody Dustin. It's this big emotional high point. We're expecting all of that, but we've got to follow it with something.
I would
All
intermission.
right, we need a hard shift. Intermission's a good call, but this was a pay-per-view, so that's not the same option. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to do a hard shift, and I don't think that one had a comedy match anywhere on it. So
I would have
that
done the
be...
Bret Hart title reveal, I think, after Cody Dustin.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
I was there at the show.
Mm-hmm.
In Nevada, with friend of the show, Dames Gonzalez. Look, I'm looking at the card now. Like, they had a Best Friends versus Angelico Jack Evans match.
Mm-hmm.
I would have probably just put that in there.
Was that second on the card?
It was second on like the. No, it was actually that was third on the main card.
Okay,
The actual,
I think they picked the right opener with that, with the SCU versus the Shima.
Yeah, the Strong Hearts.
Yeah. That was a good pick for opener. I think I probably would have done Cody and Dustin as the main, but I get why they did the main where they did because they wanted Mox to end the show. But I think that was an early lesson for them in bad card construction.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I remember, they were not the very first All In. You know, before it was AEW, they learned on that show the importance of, oh God, you know, this is why you don't go over time, because frickin' Skrull decided he wanted to go extra with Okada, and that screwed up the main event timing. Was it the main event? I think it was the main event. It screwed up the timing for the Bucks match.
I was also at that show.
Yeah.
And I remember
we talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah, going on and just trying to get out of there.
Yeah,
because it was out with the Lakefront Arena, which is not.
Yeah, and then they
close
went
to
so
anything
long
in New Orleans.
They went so long the people couldn't get like transportation back. I remember you talking about that.
I think I recall saying on the show, which was true, that I was with a bunch of like observer people, and we were lucky in that there was like an Uber that had like I don't know if it was an Uber XL, but it must have been. It was like a big Uber. It wasn't like some guy, rolled up in like a little like not a Civic. It was like a big SUV. And the guy, one of the guys, the observer guy, one of the people who like through like the observer like message board stuff like that, he's like, you guys want to come in? And it's like, like literally like a pile of us just crowded in that.
Just diving into it, suburban.
So we got there. We got like easy, relatively, but yeah, it's like, and it's because they like that. I'm less like I'm more sympathetic to Marty Scurll, at least in terms of his in ring, not about his.
I hate his in ring
personal exploits, but in ring, I thought he was fine, but he didn't need to
sucked. We can get into why we can get into like why I fucking hate him. Do we want to get into why I fucking hate him? Because we can do it. Because I can.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so the one thing I fucking hate about him is he thinks a character is screaming his spots before he's gonna do them, and he can't do more than 2 things because his other philosophy was, why have one really super over gimmick when you can have 6 mildly over gimmicks? He was just too busy. The finger break spot was stupid. Um, and like I fucking hated his like stomp, and they're like, I'm gonna punch him. I was like, are ya? I just found him obnoxious, honestly, and he
So
was just a try hard. And usually, like when you're as try hard as him, it's because you have no charisma and you're not a good wrestler, in my opinion.
so Brett, I appreciate you wanting to hold back and not tell us how you really feel about this particular
I
person.
Will Ospreay was doing it for a while, and it was pissing me off. And I've seen other guys do that, but like free advice if you're an indie wrestler, like screaming your spots before you do them is not a personality. And it's annoying.
I knew one guy who did something similar, but it worked for him because what he would do is he would do it as jaw jacking with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had this match together, and he whipped me into the corner and kicked my feet out from under me. So I'm laying there in the corner, and he goes to the other side and he turns to the crowd. He goes, "Watch this! I'm gonna squash him in the corner." And he comes running in, and when he does, like when he came in, my head kind of slipped down from under the turnbuckle it was on. So he hits, and I'm like, ah, and then everyone's like, he missed, and he turns around and he kind of looks down and he walks to the ropes, the corner that's on the same side, and he goes, I ain't going to miss this time, and he comes running and I roll out of it. Like the whole point behind that for him was engaging the crowd. It wasn't just move name, or something
Yeah,
like that.
that works, I think. But like if he was doing that with a crowd of like 20,000 people, I think it wouldn't work. You know what I mean? Because it would just be like,
Well,
I mean, it worked with like a
it's
crowd of like 1,200 people. I think like there's a scale, but I think there is like a point where like it's, but I get like that's different though because that's part of the comedy too.
yeah, there's going to be a point where it's not going to scale as well. But the truth is,
That's like
it worked well for him.
that's like Bugs Bunny esque stuff that I think works pretty well in wrestling.
I think that's a problem that a lot of indie guys have is getting what they have that works on the smaller level to translate to a bigger level. And if it can't translate, then they've hit a cap.
I know
So,
speaking of Bugs Bunny stuff, there's a funny Bad News Allen one where he talks about teaming with Dick Murdoch. And they
mm,
are wrestling these guys that weren't good, and they'd like do a chop on him, and he'd start doing the which way did he go? Which way did he go? And he said he had to crawl under the ring because he was laughing so hard.
Didn't
yeah.
didn't Dick also do like the curly shuffle
Yeah.
at points? Like,
Hogan did that during the second Sting match when he fell and like headbutted him in the groin. He started doing the curly shuffle.
Yeah.
at least for old school wrestlers, like that's gotta be like just almost like a rib between each other. Like if you like do like you get a guy and that's how they start selling. Like they have to be like they're trying to take the piss out of things. And you probably again this is more for like the territory days, so you wouldn't be doing this often. Like for like a camera.
Mick and Owen used to do it to screw with Steve Austin, like back in the day.
Oh yeah,
Because there was one where Owen, like, I think crushed Foley with this huge, like, bag of popcorn, and, like, Foley was rolling around and did, like, a snow angel in it, and Austin was just losing his shit on the apron.
Oh, yeah.
So
and Austin has to be, like, he's trying, serious, like, Stone Cold or whatever like that, and he's just there, like, about to corpse, just trying his hardest.
So that story is in Foley's first book, and they had been just goofing around like that for like the whole loop, and Austin had been on commentary because I think that was in the stretch when Dude Love was tagging with Steve Austin.
Yeah,
and the whole thing for him was trying to get Austin to crack. And then that night that you were just referring to, they did all this. Meltzer was in the crowd, and they're like, maybe we should just have a regular match so we don't piss off Meltzer. And they're like, yeah, okay, we can do a regular match. And then they parted ways. And then about a half hour later, they came back and they said, you know what? No, we're going to do it our way. And so they did the whole sequence you just we're talking about, and they look over, and Austin is bent over on the announce desk. He's pulled his headset off so that they can't hear him, and he is crying, laughing. And that right there would have meant trying to crack somebody up in the ring it's fun. But you also don't want to do it too much, because if you do it too much, then you screw it up and you let the crowd in on it. But still fun.
That's fun. That's also one of my favorites. Is the Scott Steiner. He's fat and Sting just loses it behind him.
Yeah.
It always cracks me up. But I think it is viable to do like an intermission after like an emotional high point, because that gives them a natural chance to rest and it sends them off kind of like buzzing to come back. But I think the intermission's, I think, kind of like a lost art form with a lot of promotions I've been to.
Well, so KWF, and I say that because they've been on here with us. The last show we were at, they actually did 2 intermissions, because they did 3 matches, they did an intermission. They did 2 matches, and then they did one, and then they did the main. And part of that was it gives it gives the crowd a little break and a reset, and it also worked with the venue, so people had an opportunity to go to the concession stand more than just the one intermission.
Now,
but what it does is it gives you a chance to breathe, and you can go to the bathroom and that sort of stuff.
Now, I do think Chikara did something. I think if I ever ran an indie promotion, I might actually try and see how it goes over. So when I went to Chikara, they did the main event, and I don't quite remember how they did it, but then they did like an encore impromptu battle royal where people just started coming out and having a battle royal to end the show.
Okay.
Like, so I think I might try that if I ever like ran a show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that was an interesting send-off.
There are sometimes some shows that I have been to that what they do is they will do a anyone licensed battle royal. And if they do that, then what happens is anybody who has a license for the state can come and be part of the battle royal. They're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even think about that. But they can come be part of it. And it's a way to get your name out there a little bit more, and it always goes last. You always do that last. You don't do that right in the middle.
Well, I think it's also what I think I'm kind of intrigued by it is because it's something you don't advertise and you can surprise people with, and then you sent them home on something like maybe they haven't seen before, because like a battle royal isn't at every show. So if like you've been to a bunch of shows, they might go home and be like, oh, I haven't seen a battle royal before, that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
because like that happened when I went to a WWE house show. They had like they had a cage match with Rollins and Moxley, and it wasn't like amazing, but I was like, oh, I've never seen a cage match before, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, novelty goes a long way.
And I think battle royals are fun. There's a lot you can do.
I think one of the best things about battle royals is you can have cases of people being entirely deadly serious and people being just absolutely utterly goofing off happening in the same ring.
Well, I had so when they did it, it was, I think he was Farmer Frog at the time, but it was a guy in a frog outfit, and he got eliminated, and he rolled over and he pretty much like just laid on my legs. Like he just kind of like sold like laid on me. Actually, it was also funny. You know the guy that murdered Dragon?
Yeah, what was it? Oleg the Conqueror?
Oh, Oleg the Usurper. So he was at that show and he did like a rolling splash off the apron onto someone. I was in the front row for this, which was a lot of fun. But he like popped up and like jumped on the guy next to me and screamed in his face like I got him, which was kind of funny. But Yeah, so I think like the battle royal thing, I kind of have like a mild curiosity how I think that would go over, but I don't know. Like I said, novelty and everything, or send people on to intermission on like a novelty, like a battle royal or something.
Yeah,
But I also think the
but
battle royal is fun at the end though, because it's like, especially like what you said, like just seeing all like the randos come out for it.
yeah. So, um, the original idea of having these shorter typical matches, and I think from what we have found, that I think it's pretty reliable to say that 15 minutes is when you can. 15 minutes is a good time when you've got enough space to really break into something. Uh, you can really break into something truly excellent. And as you pointed out, Steamboat Savage and Guerrero Mysterio are good examples for it. And I don't know what it is about that extra 5 minutes, but it's probably that you've got just enough time to let stuff breathe.
Yeah, and I think at 10 minutes you'd probably do have to make some concessions to like what you really want to do in 15 minutes. 15 minutes you don't necessarily have to. I didn't want to say I do think there's an exception. We were kind of talking about what we thought acceptable match length was, because we were kind of thinking like when you start getting to 45 minutes or an hour, it's a little too much. And what I said I think is the exception to that rule, and I stand by. And Flair and Steamboat from Clash 6 kind of proves my thesis on that I think it is fine to go that long with a 2 out of 3 falls match because, well, and Flair's a cheat, but because in a 2 out of 3 falls match, if you're going all 3 falls, you're having 3 matches, so it's fine to go longer than like normal.
You're right. The thing that I push back on a little bit is that you're having 3 matches, but you're having 3 matches where the people are getting successively more and more worn down.
Yeah.
So ideally, the subsequent the second and third fall should be shorter and shorter. Um,
Well, I kind of think, well, Lucha is interesting, but like what I think is like an interesting way to do a 2 out of 3 falls match, and I think that's something I always like that Mike Tenay would talk about like some of those like antiquated like submission holds in WCW,
mhm.
going back because that's my favorite era, and we did a WCW match tonight. How he would explain like, oh well, like the spinning toe hold, like people don't do it now, but back in the day when like you were doing 2 out of 3 falls match, that was a great way to get someone, because then you've messed their leg up for the rest of the match. And I think there is kind of like um that interesting like idea of like the face getting hurt early. But I
Mhm.
actually think sometimes, and Lucha does it a lot, like I think sometimes doing the first fall is long, the second fall is shorter, and then the third fall is longer again. And like um in my idea of the second fall being shorter on either end, and it's more of a concept in lucha, but being like, well, I'm up 1-0, I'm not going to really like fight the submission hold or anything, I'm just going to take my, or oh man, he's kind of like really taking me to task on this, I'm just going to let him pin me, take my like 60 to 90-second rest period and start over. Like I think there's like a tactical idea you could do to like a second fall where like the person up 1-0 could take the L.
So while I understand where you're coming from, my problem is that, and here's what here I'll give you exactly why I point to it. It feels like that half an hour, for my personal taste, is going to be probably a good cap, because like Ricky Steamboat Rick Rude Iron Man match, that even that one with those two guys, as great as they were, I got in the middle of it, I'm just like, oh, because the way that they did that match, they just ground it to it. And I understand the storytelling perspective behind it, but they just ground that match to a dead halt at that point. And I'm like, please don't do that. You know, the idea is that Rude's up and he's trying to wear Steamboat out, so he's got something locked on him and he's got him in the middle of the ring and he's trying to wear him down and all, but it's just it just killed my interest. So I would be very, very hesitant to go beyond a half hour, even in a stipulation like that.
There's some of the All Japan tags that I think worked as an hour. Like I said, I think Flair Steamboat worked really well as an. Again, Barry Windham and Ric Flair on the Worldwide was like 45 minutes, but I mean that match is awesome. So
hang on, I'm checking something.
It can depend upon the pacing too. Like there are some matches. Now, granted, like it's like really high quality matches, but there's some matches that can be like 45 minutes to an hour, and then it's like I didn't even know it was that long. Like it just breezes through.
Like Omega Okada 1, I think is a good example because they worked like a traditional style match for 30 minutes and then they did like a crazy like spot bomb fest for the next 30. So I think that worked because it was two matches like weaved together. And then when you started fading is when they were like doing crazy stuff to keep you going.
I this like crossed my brain thinking of that, like Okada, like Omega, like those matches, sure. But another Kenny Omega match, like Wrestle Kingdom 13 from January 2019, where Tanahashi beat Omega for the IWGP title.
That's
and
really
I remember because we reviewed it on the show, and it's a 40-minute match.
That was 40 minutes.
Afterwards, I was like, no idea. It was like 15. It went.
I thought it was like 24 minutes.
Yeah, they paced it so well, and it just moved so like crisp and briskly.
So I was going to say, when it comes to tag matches, that could be a little different because you've got more people and more stuff to do, and you can keep the interaction going a little more. And then I was like, oh, I need to check my words because, like, FTR Briscoes was 27 minutes, 43 minutes, 22 minutes. It's like, okay.
Was the dog collar match the 43 one?
No, that was 22.
Dog collar match was 22.
Yeah. I don't remember what because the second match was the long one, but I don't remember what it was. Was there a gimmick attached to that, Shad?
No, there's no gimmick attached.
Shad's disappeared.
Yeah. I think also another good example when we did on this, I think it was 45 minutes, but Sting and Flair one worked, but the story for that kind of required it to go long. Because the story of that is Sting being too inexperienced to win.
I think there's something else that we should draw a distinction on, because
just
the
take
difference
Flair out of it because he's a freak.
Well, not even so much that, but we need to draw a distinction on, because there are some people who, like you said, like Flair because he was a freak. There are some people, Flair and Okada Omega and stuff like that.
I would say Steamboat.
Those are going to be like superlative people, and Danielson, when it's not one of those Ring of Honor ones. Oh, there you go. Danielson Omega did a half hour, and it was great, and they knew when to stop and leave enough on the table that they could come back to it. But barring those like just top tier guys, what should the rule of thumb be? And that's where my head is with the 10 minute standard match time and then maxing out at 30. Don't go beyond that. Because I'm just going to pluck a name out of the air. Somebody I like, but I'm going to pluck a name out of the air. I don't think that I think that if that was a rule of thumb that, for example, Jack Perry lived by, that would serve him well. Whereas someone like Kenny Omega has, proved that he can do that and be engaging for that long and that sort of stuff. So it's not never do it, but uh, general practice for the vast majority of wrestlers. That's where my recommendations are coming from.
How long was because it just popped in my head. How long was Kawada and Fuchi versus Nagata and Izuka? Was that like 35 minutes?
That would be 30. Let me look this up. Because we just watched that not that long ago.
Yeah.
Just a couple months back, and that moved like. Good luck.
Yeah, I think tempo, like I said, I think why I like Flair and Omega is they know how to fill the time and keep it like moving and engaging. I think where I don't like long matches is I hate when like, and you see this in older stuff, when they're going to go long and have like a 30-minute draw and they're immediately like just killing time with headlocks and stuff and you're like, "Oh, they're going to go to a draw."
Looking it up, 35 minutes.
35?
Yeah, which may be slightly less with like intros and the post-match stuff. So,
Yeah.
But it's definitely around like the 30 mark, a little over 30.
Interesting. That would be about that era's length of match, I think. And I think stuff like doing Survivor Series matches, I think those are fine to go long. Like if you did a 45-minute like Survivor Series match, I don't think people would complain.
Oh, if you had like a 5-on-5?
Well, I think that 10-on-10 one was like pretty long when we did 88, I think.
See, those I'm fine with because what you have with that is you've got enough people that you rotate in and out and it keeps things fresh. You just, as you keep changing it. From studies on adult education, you've got about 10 minutes for an adult attention span on average, before they'll start to fade on you. And before you need to change something in order to re-engage it and give them a mental reset. And tag matches, you've got that option. Because if you start with these two guys, you tag the other two guys in, then you tag one guy in, and you're switching these people, you've got multiple different matchups you can do before you see the same thing happen again. And in a big match like that, you've got a whole bunch of things, so you can have lots of resets.
Yeah, there's a reason, just as an aside, there's a reason like cartoon shorts from like, the 30s, 40s, and 50s are 7 minutes long. Like they're built like that. There's a reason they're the length they are. And if you go watch like serials, they're like about 18 minutes. And we've talked about it numerous times on here, but like when they did Search for the Holy Grail, they did the intermission because they found out there was a point people would stop laughing.
It was about 45 minutes, and it didn't matter how they rearranged jokes or how they changed structure or anything like that. At about 45 minutes, they would get tired and they would quit laughing. And they were trying to figure out what to do, and they were like, "Oh, we can just put an intermission here. Just make it gaudy and irritating," which is why it's that intermission with the weird music and the 1960s, the way the lights go and that sort of stuff.
But I think like 10 minutes is a good average. Like I said, like I typically have come away from like seeing a lot of live wrestling thinking 2.5 hours is like the perfect show. Like especially for like a house show, and then maybe like one match that's like 20 minutes and like a match that's like 14 minutes. I think is like what I think is probably.
I would agree. I think for a house show or like an independent show, if it's an independent show, like really more like 2 hours, and that's with like an intermission probably. Like, you should do 45 minutes to an hour, have like a 20-30 minute intermission, and then come back for like another 45 to an hour. It depends. Like, maybe like, you do that, but you're like shook your head, Chad. You're like,
No, I was
I
scratching
think,
behind my ear. I was not disagreeing with you.
I think
okay. I mean,
I guess with 2, I feel like I'm shortchanging people a little too much.
that's fine. Maybe you do like, let's say 45 minutes, beginning. You could pass like to an hour to do like someone goes to the ring cuts pro or something, or you do like an angle,
Or like
but
you
no more
do
than
it.
an hour. Then like a 20-30 minute intermission, and then like another hour. So then you actually maybe have 45 to 2 hours of like
I guess in my
action.
head, if it was me, I would do the 2.5 hours, but the 2 hours would be like the advertised show, and then that half hour would be the overrun impromptu
Hmm.
encore battle royal
Hmm.
to send people off on.
In
Yeah.
my reckoning, an indie card probably settles in around. I would probably shoot for 5 matches, right? You do your first 3, you have your intermission, then you do your semi-main and your main, or you do 2, 2, and then 1. Either way works. I don't think I would take an intermission longer than 10 minutes or so, unless you've got a whole bunch of baby faces you're going to have go out, mix with the crowd, sign stuff, things like that.
If they have merch like
Yeah.
tables.
And so if you do that, you go out and you can, you go out and you do that sort of stuff. And, or the last show I worked, this is what we did is during one of the intermissions, I went out there as the commissioner and I'm hyping up the following shows. I'm giving out dates. I'm talking to people in the crowd. Ask hey, is this anybody's first AWF show? Oh, it's yours. Tell me what Are you having fun? Are you enjoying yourself? Hey, who brought you here? We're glad you're here. I hope you come back. You see us on these dates. Tell me, what are you enjoying? What have you? Tell me something. I'm not saying what's the only thing or the biggest thing. Just can you tell me something you've enjoyed so far? And what I'm doing is while people are stretching their legs or getting something to eat or going to the bathroom or whatever, I'm building banter, with everybody so the folks feel more engaged. And I'm just kind of drifting around talking to them with the microphone so they get to feel involved and that sort of thing. I would get that I would do for a longer intermission. But 10-15 is usually about where I would drop mine at.
Yeah, because you don't want to go too long and have people like start to like. You don't want to have to re-engage them completely. You just want them to have like a mental reset.
I guess my caveat to that is what time of day is your show.
Okay, yeah.
Because a lot of times, like the times that I've gone to like indie shows, it's been like at night, the evening.
Yeah.
So let's say it starts around like 7, you do like an hour or so. So now it's like 8 o'clock, 8:30. You like want to give people a break, and you give them like a sizable break. I mean, not like an hour, but 20 to 30 minutes, like I said. Or probably more like 20,
15,
but
20.
in the times I've gone, it's like it's at night, so oftentimes I've been at like a rec center or something like that where there is like food, but it's not like, it's like they have people like a food truck has come there or something that people can get food. I remember back when I went to some of the shows that like there's a Washington DC company that doesn't even exist. COVID like ended that, but I went there and they had it actually at DC Brow Brewery, which they would bring people and they would actually have like that's actually a great venue because they set up the ring like in the actual brewery, like they had like the warehouse space, but it worked.
They did NXT would do a concert venue, and Ring of Honor started doing it, which I particularly didn't care for because they did it in like the mosh pit is where they put the ring. And so like
Mhm.
even if you were really close, unless you were in the balcony, you always had like weird blind spots.
Yeah. This location was actually pretty good because it was like, first off, it's at the brewery, and the brewery was set up to be like, you want a beer? Like, you literally got
Yeah.
to walk like 10 feet that way. And they had like a limited food options, but they had like some stuff. It's like, at least you can get like chips, hot dogs, something like that.
Yeah.
And that the intermission was like very brief. But if you had something like that, you at nighttime, you'd be like, all right, let's give them 20 minutes. They can go grab a snack, then go to take a bathroom break. Not many outside of that one place, which is at a brewery. Not many places like indie shows I've gone to. It's like, oh, let's buy a beer. So it's not that, but
Mm-hmm.
you have a little bit of time. But I actually would agree with you if you're doing a show during the day or in the early afternoon, then yeah, like you could get away with being like, yeah, no, let's not do if it's especially if it's like you're starting the show at like 2,
3.
3 in the
Yeah.
afternoon. It's like, well, it's too late for lunch. It's too early for dinner, so it's like you don't need to give people like a long break. It's like, oh yeah, they'll need like food, whatever. No, you can give them like 15 minutes, like a bathroom break.
I would say for me, if I was gonna run one, I'd probably do Sunday afternoons, and I'd probably do 20 minutes because I'd be trying to pull people with kids. So if they have kids, if there's a lot of kids there, you probably want to give them a little more time.
Yeah.
Because kids, you can't
Although,
really do anything quick with, especially like bathroom breaks and like getting food and stuff.
yeah. Although we've said it before, but I do think it's a genius concept. Even though it's not a novel, not something that's breaking the wheel. But if you're having an indie show, a small independent promotion, like why are you not having your shows like earlier in the afternoon on the weekend? Because you can probably draw, especially families. Like I got 2 small kids. My youngest one's really little. Like I doubt she has any interest. But when AEW a couple months back came to the DC area, it was the one where it was when Darby had the title. It was Darby versus Brody King in Fairfax, Virginia. So it was close, like very close. And we couldn't get a babysitter or anything like that, so I couldn't go with my wife. Not that I don't think cared as much because she doesn't like wrestling. She likes spending time with me, but I think she didn't miss out seeing the wrestling part. But I took my oldest daughter, who's only 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she loved it. She had a great time. And that was at night, so it was a little bit, I mean, she fell asleep in the car on the way back. But what if I'm like, it's like 3 in the afternoon on the Sunday? I could actually take the kids and like watch wrestling and they'd be entertained, or at least my oldest one would be entertained. And then by the time it's done, when we get back home, it's like, all right, it's still early enough for dinner. Like the kids can still get baths. Like it's not going to disrupt the schedule too much.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin the whole.
Yeah. Now, like in
And I mean,
my area, where I think the only trick would be like if I was doing Sundays now, would be I would probably have to program at least for a couple months around. Okay, what time of the day are the Bengals playing? And I should probably do it after the Bengals game.
yeah,
Fair point.
yeah, that's that's about knowing your location.
Yeah,
And
but like where Shad is, you're probably fine like to not compete because
what you're going to want to avoid, at least where I'm at, are University of Kentucky basketball games.
Yeah,
because you ain't getting shit.
And like especially
during one of those,
and because what Chad and I are talking about, especially in our markets, is it's not you're competing necessarily with people watching those on TV. You're also competing with people going live, because some people will forego, like if you're far enough away, people will forego, like if you're in like Columbus where I'm at, like okay, you can probably drag them away from the Bengals or the Browns for a Sunday to come to wrestling. But like if you're in the outskirts of Cincinnati, like no, it's going to be a lot harder because a lot of people are going to the game.
Yeah, that's a really big ask that you're probably not going to get. But yeah, I mean that's That's what KWF does. Is they do that exact thing. They do the Sunday afternoon. Um, Show starts at 4. Show runs for 2.5 hours. That's it.
It seems like they've
And
had preliminary success with like crowds doing that.
so it has been slow but steady growth. And you know what? I will take slow, steady growth. Um, because if it was all just a big explosion,
You'll lose
then
that crowd quicker because a lot of it's
yeah,
going to be fad watching. Yeah.
you're going to have a drop off. But if you have this slow, steady growth, then you're getting people who want to be there and are coming back for it. And I'm happy to see that.
Yeah. I think they would. Do you think it'd be doing a little better if they didn't have some of their little snags along the road?
I think that if we hadn't run into the issue that gave us a layoff period for a few months, probably, yeah. Um, but I mean, our first match back or our first show back, we had better attendance than the show right before that happened. So,
Well, that's good.
uh, you know, it's one of those getting the word out kind of things. But they're doing a show on the 31st in downtown Frankfurt in partner with the Capital City Museum, because the Capital City Museum has the permanent Miss Elizabeth exhibit in it. And so they do a free outdoor show there as a way of getting people's attention, drawing folks in. You know why? It's outdoors, and there's no ticket for it. Just walk up and see what's going on and enjoy the show and that sort of stuff. So, hey, that's just another promotional tactic. You get people used to seeing it, and maybe they see something they like and they come back for more.
I might, if I was doing an intermission, just as an idea, like if I had students that like were kind of getting into running matches, I might be like, okay, we're gonna come back from intermission. Like, we're gonna put your trainer out there as a ref. You get 5 minutes, just get spots in and stuff. Like, pick a winner. Like, don't worry about the psychology. Just throw some spots in front of a crowd. See how you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's picking the spot where to have your just getting reps in match. That can be challenging. I would probably put that on as the second match on the card, because you want your opener to be good to keep people engaged.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of coast off of that into through that second match, and then have something
Or like a pre-show match. If you do that regular enough, then your hardcores will come, so you'll have somewhat of a crowd a little early that wants to see like the pre-show match, but then like you don't necessarily.
The reason that I'm iffy on that is, if bell time's 4 o'clock, and if the doors open at 3 and bell time is at 4, then you're gonna I guarantee you're still gonna have people who are
Mad at
on
you.
the card arriving closer to 4. That always happens.
Yeah. Well, I more meant like if you did it like as a pre-show, then like, because the people like you said, like your like hardcore fans will show up early because if you do it every time, they'll be like, okay, well, I really want to be there at 3:30 because they're gonna do a pre-show match and that's an extra match. But then your family might just be like, well, we're getting there at 4. Who cares if we miss like the 5-minute like nothing match with the guys that have no gimmicks.
Well, but you want to make sure that people getting reps are doing it in front of an actual crowd.
Yeah.
Which is why I say second spot's probably where I would do that.
But like I said, I think if you did it consistently, they would have a crowd because there are going to be people that are going to show up. even if it is students, that you're going to have those guys that are going to be like, I want to see every ounce of wrestling that they provide.
Yeah, people come to the show, they want to get their money's worth.
Yeah. It's like how and that concept works like if your local sports team has open practices, you'll always have a crowd there.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's like Big Blue Madness is the midnight practice.
Or even like when the Blue Jackets would just do like a developmental tournament that was just open to the public and it wasn't even like mainline players, like they would always have the practice facility full.
So I do want to throw something out here before we go into the match. You know what? No, I'll save it for after.
Okay.
So to parlay this into the match for this week, 15 minutes. 15 minutes on, I think it was a 3-hour pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, 3-hour
Halloween
pay-per-view.
Havoc.
Yeah.
15 minutes, that don't seem like a lot. And yet, they were the ones that had the match of the night, as I remember. Halloween Havoc 97, I think.
Yes, I would say that Savage and DDP's like Falls Count Anywhere match,
really
I think.
Good.
Yeah, that was also pretty good. And there was also like there was a couple other things on there that were decent. But yeah, this was the best match on the show.
And
if you're wondering, because
I'd still call it match of the night.
Yeah. And if you're wondering about Rey Mysterio's like one-off bodysuit, he's the Phantom, is what his.
Yeah, this was a, dare I say, like iconic like look. Like I don't feel like he did like this type. No. He did it in WWE. Like I think in WCW, I don't think he did a bodysuit like themed thing like this.
You could be him as the bodysuit in WCW versus NWO Revenge, and like I think a couple
World Tour.
Yeah, but he's done
not World Tour.
No, World Tour.
Sorry, he didn't have that in World Tour.
It was Revenge, but he's done some other interesting ones. Like his favorite like one-off mask that he did is when he worked New Japan. He had like a half mask where half his mask was his, and then the other half was like the New Japan lion, which was really cool.
Yeah.
That he's never worn, and I would actually buy that one. That one was cool, but yeah, this was the only time in WCW I think he did like a cosplay like bodysuit.
It looks great, though, even if you didn't know that it was the Phantom, and it was almost more true to the Phantom than the movie version was, because the movie version didn't have the briefs on the outside look like this one does. But even if you didn't know,
I will die on the hill that the Phantom movie is underrated.
It's fun.
Yeah,
the Phantom is fun. The Shadow is fun. And
Billy Zane's underrated as the Shadow. I mean, as the Phantom. Sorry.
Yeah. There was a third, and okay, Phantom, Shadow, and Rocketeer are all really fun movies that should get more credit.
I haven't seen The Rocketeer as an adult. I remember liking it as a kid. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, but even barring knowing that this was a Phantom-inspired set of ring gear, it still looks great. You know, it still looks fantastic.
He incorporates his gimmick into it well, because he still has like his mask style. He has the question marks on the legs and stuff. Like it really incorporates his gimmick.
He's got those panels on the front of the legs, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it just looks fantastic. So, and Eddie has his standard look and the greasy mullet.
He has a bruise on his chest too.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing that before. I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. It must have.
I wonder who chopped him.
Yeah.
So this, if we boil this all the way down to the base, this is a mask versus title match, because Eddie would not give Rey a title match repeatedly, and then until Rey put his mask on the line. And Eddie had been screwing with his mask in the lead up to it.
And Rey had beaten him on Nitro too.
So he was screwing with Rey's mask. It's going to be mask versus title. And that plays into Rey's gear because the mask is attached. And the mask is a hood that attaches to the bodysuit. But at its core, what is this match? The big, mean, nasty heel beats up on Rey Mysterio. The big, mean, nasty Eddie Guerrero beats up on the smaller Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole match.
I don't remember how they transitioned to this program because, like, before this, like, if you don't know this time frame, so Ray had like his knee injured by Conan, who turned heel on him over the summer, and then they had like a pay-per-view match at Bash at the Beach because it actually has one of my favorite faces not being bitches angle where he's on crutches and Conan's like screwing with him, and he kicks one of the crutches away and he goes to pick it up and Ray just like legs fine and just smashes the other crutch right over Conan's back.
Like, yeah, that's true. That was a really great moment.
But like then he was out for a couple weeks. I don't know if he had like a legitimate injury or not, but like Conan injured him, and then he came back and he kind of veered into this with Eddie, and like pretty soon into it, like beat him on Nitro because Eddie had turned heel on Dean in June, I think.
Was it on? Because I think Ultimo Dragon was in there somewhere too, right?
I think they had like a clash match.
Dragon took the cruiserweight belt off of Guerrero at one point.
In January, I think he does.
Okay.
But it also made me sad because before this, and he had won the title. Eddie took it off Jericho? Is who he took the belt off of.
Yes.
Because they had a clash match and then he won it. But I was always sad because for like a couple weeks they had Eddie and Jeff Jarrett teaming up. And I loved their tag finisher, which was Jeff Jarrett would put them in the figure 4 and then Eddie would frog splash them.
I had forgotten all about that. I had completely forgotten that was a thing. But you're right. You got Eddie was third generation, Jarrett was second, right? Or were they both third?
Jarrett's in a weird spot though because Eddie Marland is his grandfather, but I don't think he is. I think he's like married. I don't know.
Okay, so
we talked about this, but it blew my mind because like I never knew that. I literally found that out like months ago.
Yeah,
like I never knew that Eddie Marland was actually Jeff Jarrett's grandfather.
No idea.
But I think his grandfather. I think Eddie Marland is like maybe Jerry's father-in-law. It's weird, and I don't know if they consider Jeff Jarrett a third generation or not, because they always made a big deal that Chavo and Eddie were third.
Yeah,
because and third is still considered fairly rare because Randy Orton is third. And the DiBiase kids are third.
Yeah. Well, not anymore.
Well, yeah.
I'm looking it up. Like you'd have to consider Jeff third because Eddie Marland was a wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, you could say like
maybe he's not for kayfabe.
Jarrett was a wrestler, briefly. So, considering Eddie was the grandfather, or he was because he passed away, but he was the grandfather of Jeff. Jeff would be third generation.
I think Jerry wrestled for a while. He just wasn't super like successful with it. Because I know he had like I think he had like a tag title run with like Jackie Fargo and stuff.
Yeah. So we've got that a team of 2 third generation stars who find a way to work that together. That's excellent. I just
Joe Henning would be third.
Yeah, you're right because it was Larry the Axe, and then it was Kurt, and then it was Joe.
Yeah.
So, but you have this match going on, and Ray starts out real hot. Ray starts out going at Eddie real hot. But here's the thing that I really there's 2 pieces to how this match is structured I really like. And the first one is Eddie takes over by being cagey. He's not Eddie doesn't like brass knucks or anything like that. Eddie is just he is pushing Ray around and
It's
dominating the
very
match and being a dick.
it's very lucha libre. Like they don't work it like a lucha match, but like the relationship between the Technico and the Rudo, they stick very close to in
Yeah.
this.
Like Eddie's not cheating a lot, but he's a dick the entire time.
I don't think he cheats like at all, other than
That's
tearing at the mask.
that's I was hedging because I couldn't remember. I didn't make notes about that specific point.
No, I
But
don't
then the
remember
other
him
thing,
cheating because it was fairly
yeah,
clean.
yeah,
The
he's
mask,
just a
the
dick.
mask would count, I guess.
Well, he's just a dick so much through it. And then as the match goes, Ray gets hope spots that are enough to pull you in, and yet not long enough that it seems like it's a comeback sequence.
It's like
So
one
they
or
are very
two
well done. Yep.
spots.
One
Like
or two moves.
I think my favorite was the one where he went for like the Hurricane Rana, and then Eddie kind of caught him and gave him a backbreaker.
Yeah, he went for a springboard Rana, and Eddie turned it into a backbreaker. It was just Ray had that run up towards the end where he puts Eddie to the outside, and he does that tope into the Rana, front flip tope into the Rana on the floor, and then they get back in the ring,
And
and
then
Eddie
had that baseball slide in the corner that which was really well set up, and I think you could see it coming, but that was a great way to thwart himself. Like he did like a tree of woe and went to like baseball slide him, and Ray lifted up and he racked himself on the ring post, which I think was a really
yeah,
good. Um, that's the kind of stuff I think heels should do more of, because that's kind of like more a stooging thing.
yeah. It's to have them slip on a figurative banana peel helps because what happens is like, oh, you screwed it up. You know, it feels karmic, I
And
guess.
he did the gory special at one point. Um,
And the camel clutch,
yeah. I
which
actually
was
I saw
invented
that.
by
Yeah.
his dad.
Yeah.
I liked I have to say, because I don't always love him in these, but like I really like Dusty Rhodes' commentary, like when he would chime in on this.
Dusty and Tanay were in rare form commentating on this one.
Yeah, Heenan was being kind of a
I
weirdo.
was amused by Heenan, but Matt, I'm sorry, Brad and I have been going full tilt. We need to carve a break for you to.
No, it is. It was a little bit almost like a lucha match, but not. Like they didn't really do like traditional like lucha style or lucha rules. Excuse me. What I thought was interesting is that if you really like pay attention, for them, it's for most of the match, it's arguably a glorified squash because Eddie is just beating him from pillar to post. It's just that they really, really exceptionally structured and with perfect timing, like laid out like the hook spots for Mysterio. And it's like you said, like they increasingly like you started to see a little more, a little more, a little more. Like it started off with just Eddie just like, let me beat the piss out of him for like 2 minutes. Then Ray gets a hook spot. And it's like, all right, well no, like Eddie like stunned, then he counters it. So now it's like another like minute or so beating on Ray, then another hook spot. And then it starts to stack.
Kickouts too for Ray.
Yeah, it kicks out, and the commentary I thought was good. Like, and you they actually put it over. And Bobby like, I love Bobby. Bobby is probably my favorite color commentator of all time. But Bobby in WCW sometimes like sometimes, especially I would say like later on, he just stopped kind of caring. So he would be. Sometimes he'd be feeling it. I felt like you could see like matches like this where he actually probably liked and respected both guys and understood this is something like, for the time novel and great. So he would get more engaged in it. But a lot of times he just stopped caring, which I guess given how things went, I can understand it. But sometimes maybe he'd have a fun time just for his own amusement. But I don't know. He was feeling it in this one. And I thought Bobby did a great job selling this too, because he highlighted that there are things as an announcer that you can highlight and really stress and get people over, and there's a whole science to that. We could do a whole discussion. We talked before, like who our favorite announcers are, but like there's like an in-depth analysis at like announcing. Like there's so many things that you can do to get a guy over, to get what's going on in front of you, the match over, little things you could say, and just things like selling the match where he emphasized. Because you're watching it, I was watching it, I was enjoying it. I've seen this match before more than once, but it's been a while. So, not that I've seen with fresh eyes, but it's like you see a movie like you loved, but you haven't seen in like 5, 10 years, and you watch it again. It's like, oh yeah, man, I remember why I like this movie so much. Like, as this is like a digression, but remember like a few years ago we watched The Crow. Watched it so many times, like when I was young in the '90s, and when I watched it again, I'm like, oh yeah, man, I remember why I love this movie, and I got actually new things out of it. But point is, like watching this match again, I was engrossed in it. And then Bobby's talking about how like, oh yeah, like Ray keeps kicking out. Look at Eddie, he's getting frustrated. I'm like, son of a bitch, Bobby, you're right. Like I was like, I'm so focused on the match, but yeah, and Eddie's like showing frustration. Like he's like, it's within like 1, 2, and like hair's breadth, like Ray's kicking out. Just an exceptionally well done match.
I also like about Eddie, which I know he does it, but like I appreciated it in this match versus other guys. Like when someone moves for like the frog splash, he like rotates and just kind of rolls off of his hip. Versus those other guys that are like, oh, I have all this space to like adjust, and I'm just gonna like splash helplessly onto the mat. Like I like that he has like the, oh well, that's not gonna work, so I'm gonna minimize my risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like the
Another thing.
I do like the
Go ahead.
ending. I do like the ending, how he goes for like Splash Mountain and Ray reverses.
Wasn't that his wasn't that a finish of his as Black Tiger in Japan or something?
Yeah. He had done it in WCW and stuff. Like it was like it was kind of like an Eddie spot.
Yeah. But
It's
what
kind of like
happens? I'm sorry, Matt.
Well, it's kind of like, like sometimes you have the wrestler, like they can't put a guy over, so they bust out their super ultra mega finisher. Like,
yeah.
I think at that point Eddie was just trying to do whatever would get him.
He wasn't getting Ray put away, so he's going for something big there. And that, I don't know if we want to say desperation or hubris or whatever, caught up to him.
And he put him in like, and he did like the exact move that like I think you wouldn't want to do to Ray, because you're setting up his finisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ray gets the Hurricane Rana, is able to like lock the legs, and Eddie gets pinned, and Ray saves his mask. I did like the portions where, and it was very like lucha heel, where Eddie just is like, ripping the mask, especially when he had him in the camel clutch.
Yeah.
He just grabbed it, and it's like, and just starts ripping. And I'm like, I mean, I know this match. I knew like Ray doesn't get demasked here, but I was like, like, oh my God, like clutching my chest, like his mask. Like, I know that's not gonna happen. It's funny.
I'm gonna need the vapors.
Yes, and it's like, you can know that you're watching an exceptional match, because this match, which is mind-blowing, because it's 97, so this is almost a 30-year-old match, and I've seen it before. I've seen it more than once, and
I saw it live when it happened, because I got this pay-per-view.
I can still watch it. I still watch this. It's you're watching an exceptional match when you can watch it and still be like stunned. It's like you're watching a movie. Yeah, you're hooked. Like you're watching a movie, and like a horror movie or scary movie or a suspense thriller, and it's like you still like jump at the jump scares. You know it's coming, and it's like, but it still gets you. Like that's something.
I think especially if this one is like this time, I would say like I came away from this time saying like, wow, that was really a feather in Eddie's cap as like a worker. Like that was really just like a master class performance.
I think you may have said something, Shad. I don't want to like
no, go ahead,
cut you off, but I was gonna say, this is a drum beat that I've beaten this like over and over and over again doing the show. like watching stuff that I may have seen already before, or stuff I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
But because we have seen so much wrestling content in our lives between three of us, I don't feel we're jaded yet. Maybe we're jaded in other ways about wrestling, but I've seen stuff now, and sometimes when I see it, it's not like I'm taking a clinical approach to it, because that would take some fun out of it.
Yeah, I would
If you're just
say
trying to,
I'd say I've gotten really clinical because there's some things like, especially from Shad, that I've picked up over time. Um,
Sorry.
Mhm,
like what Shad has really instilled in me that I think I talk about more is like ring positioning, footwork, timing,
mhm,
um, things like where I think like you see NXT fuck it up a lot, like stuff like running the ropes where it's awkward because they're out of sync with each other. Um, but like spatial awareness and things like that are things Shad is really like kind of instilled in me to like watch for.
mhm.
It's because okay, I need to phrase this in a particular way. There is knowing how the sausage is made, and there is understanding how important the non-apparent aspects of it are
Mhm.
to understand like what makes this person so damn good. Well, the
Yeah.
answer happens to be it's not just they've got, they're good at pulling in the crowd, but they know how to do their positioning. They've got their spacing down, they've got their footwork is right. Like all those sorts of things, all those fundamental things that you either have a natural talent for or you have had drilled into you. Um, is not I consider that different than how the sausage is made. It's understanding well enough how it works to be able to appreciate the skill on getting those things right.
Well, and those also I think are things that now that I understand it better, where I think before that would be some aesthetic part of the match I did not like that I couldn't explain. Whereas before you've given me the tools to be like, well, he was out of position, his footwork shit, so that like made it
Yeah,
look awkward. Oh, they are out of sync
Mhm.
with each other. That's why the running the ropes looks so bad because
yeah,
because like I said, like what you see in NXT a lot is like they screw it up and someone's too late or too early coming off the ropes and everything gets all
yeah,
Yeah.
messed up.
And they're very choreographed a lot of
Yeah.
times, so they don't
Which
know how to
yeah, so if
actually
someone's
correct.
yeah, so like with that, like if you're running behind,
Mhm.
then it screws the whole thing up because they don't understand like because like I would imagine like without it being choreographed, like let's say Shad sent me into the ropes and I was a little late. Like it wouldn't matter. And then Shad might just adjust to something on the fly and be like, well, we're gonna do this. Or if something got forgotten, like they did it in the Joe Daniels AJ match where it'd be like if one of us forgot, like I would just slap a headlock on Shad and be like, hey, I totally spaced. What are we doing again? Like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Now
slap
I
it on there and
won't
you're like, hey dude, are
Yeah.
you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. What happened there? Think you went for a spot early. Oh, okay.
now
All right.
it did not take anything away from the match because I'm basing this on previous watches, but this is with like the more critical eye. There is a point like early fourth of the match where you can see Eddie clearly calling spots to Ray.
I didn't actually like
I
look
didn't I
and
didn't
catch
pick
that.
on that, but I didn't pick on that, but to be honest with you, it may have been that I was intentionally not picking for that. Just
It didn't
sometimes
affect
I force myself to sit back and go, okay, for God's sakes, just sit back and try and enjoy this.
Yeah.
if you're a casual observer, you wouldn't even see it. I
Yeah,
just happened to. I also had it like right on my computer monitor, so it was like right in my face, and I just saw like, oh, okay, they're calling spots, but like you couldn't
Yeah.
hear it. Like I think the only time like I really hold that against the match is if it's obvious or if you're John Cena like calling your
Mm.
spots.
But to go back to what I was saying, like I try to not. Sometimes I do look at more like clinically, but not to the point where it's like it stripping the enjoyment out. I actually feel like it oddly enhances it because sometimes I'll look and I'll be like, oh yeah, look, like I know how they're doing this now, or like, oh yeah, like they're doing this because this got messed up, or oh, they clearly messed up. How are they gonna recover from this? you know, and I actually feel like oddly it enhancing it for me. But to take it to this match, I didn't see the calling spot stuff, so I don't know about that.
It's there's a very specific moment, and Shad and I probably saw the same thing where Ray's kind of standing, and Eddie's like, you can see Eddie talking.
Yeah. But the flip side is like sometimes
there was like a 50-50 shot I would have missed it. Like honestly, I just happened to see it, and I was like, oh, I didn't notice that before. Okay.
The flip side is seeing something where it's like, well, I guess in theory this could take my enjoyment out because I saw them calling a spot. Is that I also can appreciate things when they're done really well. So when I see a guy and I know that they're doing stuff like exceptionally well, and there's two things here, like especially with Eddie that I saw. It's like one, and Ray too, but Eddie especially, like they were moving so quickly and so crisp and hitting everything. But it makes me that the second part is like what makes me enjoy is how exceptionally good Eddie's timing was in this. He was hitting stuff perfectly, and it's like he was picking the right moment. It's like now we're gonna do even like it's like Chad, you would know because you were in there. It's like there's a timing aspect where it's like wait for it now, and then you do the move, and sometimes you have to do it. And it's a fine line sometimes, but you have to do it where it's like, let's wait a few seconds to get the maximum amount of the now. And then like you do it and that can get the most like reaction out of the crowd.
Well,
or you're doing a move and you want to do it's like, let's wait to the split second to do it. And then now, and then sometimes it doesn't work because you're trying to time stuff, a move, whatever. And it's so tight that you don't hit it like you're supposed to.
I'll use a great example for what you're saying is, when he hit the backbreaker, Ray overshot him and he saved that move.
Mm-hmm.
And like that wasn't an easy save that he made on that. Like a lot of people would have fucked that up, but he salvaged it.
Okay, I'm gonna say he goes for the springboard Rana, and Eddie transitions that into a backbreaker. Did he overshoot it, or was it? Okay, we know this is not the finish. So whenever I do this, I'm going to go for it so that you don't have to move in or anything.
It was...
You could just kind of sidestep and
I think that was the plan spot, but if you look at it, like Ray kind of goes a little past him, and he kind of has to like adjust on the fly. Like, it's a very minuscule like thing, but like... And it doesn't affect anything, but it's just like kind of a notice of like, oh, I think he overshot a little bit and Eddie saved it. But I think like, and it was like in, like Matt said, like a tight window where I think like, again, if that was like an NXT match, it probably gets botched.
Yeah. It's like, it goes so well that I don't even I don't even think of it as a botch. I'd have to go back and watch that particular section back very closely a few times.
It's more a testament to like their ability level that like it could have been a botch, but I think it's kind of like when you watch like a lot of Flair stuff and everything's just so perfect with him, and it's like, oh, this could have gotten screwed up like numerous ways, but Flair is always just like right where Flair needs to be. Like I think
Flair's probably the hell of it is Flair probably screwed it up in the past. And yet here he's got, he's done it so many times that he knows how to handle it.
But there's other matches we've watched where it doesn't affect it. Like there's like a Barbarian Wrath match we did where Barbarian went to send Wrath into the ring steps, and Wrath slipped.
Yeah.
And so all Barbarian did was pick him up, rammed him into the ring apron, and tossed him into the ring where he's supposed to be. And then there was like the Mike Rotunda Sting match where Sting... What did Sting do? They did like an elbow drop. I think they messed up. Because Sting hit him when he shouldn't have. So they did something else, and then they dodged the move, and they were right back where they needed to be. And they just did one like sequence to get them back there.
And sometimes these things that are botches are not because somebody did something wrong. It's just a weird thing that happened. You know, Brian Clark slipping on the outside. It's just one of those freak things.
Yeah.
But if you're used to calling it in the ring and improving and that sort of stuff, then you trip and fall and you give the guy a good shot and you put him back in the ring and you go on. But if you are so used to everything being rehearsed repeatedly, then when something goes wrong, you don't know what to do.
Or you
So I
just,
don't. Yeah.
or
I,
like,
I,
or even if it's like a minor botch, like you just pretend like that was supposed to happen and go on with
okay,
the
so
match.
let's say that we'll just say that Eddie Guerrero was having a match with another luchador. Take your pick: Super Calo, Lismark Jr., Silver King, Cyclope. Doesn't matter. Just take your pick. And they go for a springboard thing, and whenever they go for it, one of their feet slips, so they don't get as much spring as they were hoping, and they come up short. And they go for it, and they just kind of face down, crash and burn on the mat, and they don't quite get to Eddie there. Which I think this happened, but I can't swear to it, which is why I'm saying it's a hypothetical. What will you do then? You look down at him and you laugh at him and you kick him, as opposed to going,
Or you, or
"Oh
another thing,
gosh, what do I do now?"
because Liger did this once with Great Sasuke, is Liger stopped and pointed and laughed at him, and then Sasuke like popped up and like Hurricane Ronda'd him.
Mm-hmm. So that's part of why I think it's so important to be able to that your training should involve calling stuff in the ring, so that you, for lack of a better term, you get used to improvisational thinking. You get used to thinking on your feet. That's what I was looking for. You get used to thinking on your feet and adapting. And it is probably a massive disservice to the folks that get called from NXT where things are done this particular way, and then they get called to the main roster and they're not done that way anymore and they are flaming out.
Yeah. And they have no
And
instinct. Like, I give her credit. Like, Jade Cargill takes a lot of heat for sucking, which is justified. But when Nia Jax busted her on the ring steps, like showing that she has better instinct than most people in NXT, she ran up to the camera and got her bloody face like right in the camera
Mhm.
because she knew it would look cool.
I would look, I'm not somebody who's big on the NXT system, just because just going by results, it just doesn't seem to work.
No.
And the hell of it is that I don't know if it is. I'm not going to place the blame anywhere in particular. But the truth is, if your developmental is, we are doing it this way here, and then what you're developing towards, you go there and they do it a different way, then that is a gigantic problem. Does the training need to change? Maybe. Or maybe do you need to have someone who's a good transitional worker that when you go from here to here, they're able to shepherd you into this?
I think
Because I don't
NXT
think that's happening either.
I think NXT has a lot of problems because I think the training is a problem, but I also think like they do not work with a lot of people that have like a high like wrestling IQ and don't get it. Because I
Mhm.
think the problem is like let's say you take a football player and they just don't get it. Like you could train them perfectly and if they just do not understand the concept of like selling, you're never going to be able to teach them how to sell.
It is. I'm not even talking about the NXT show. I'm setting all of that aside. That's not even entering into the conversation. If you are doing, and one thing that I know we've touched on at some point in our years doing this. The people who are just naturally good at it can't really explain it. They just do it, right?
Yeah.
You'd ask Bobby Eaton when he'd do something. It's like, Bobby, how do you do that so well? I just do it. You ask Brian Danielson. They asked Brian Danielson if he wanted to be a trainer, and Danielson's like, no, because I can't really explain what I do, when, why. I do it because it
Yeah.
feels like the right thing to do.
Flair only trained one person.
Yeah. So I think Matt Bloom, A Train, Matt Bloom, is that the
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is probably a good example of someone who is a trainer, someone who was decently successful, but they weren't so innately talented that they blew stuff up, because especially if you're training new people, if you've got someone who even if they can explain everything super well, then the problem is you're going to start losing the forest for the trees, because they're going to start getting into those minute details, and you're going to lose doing the fundamentals along the way. And what I am thinking of with that is the uh, which it was Austin Rock. Sorry. Austin Rock main event, and Austin's doing commentary, and he's explaining why he's doing everything as he does it. This Austin does this, and he says, and then I turn this way because the camera picks it up better. And then we go and we do this because we need a change of scenery. We've been in the ring too long, so we go to the outside. If you were going to have Steve Austin train somebody, Steve Austin is, frankly, so smart about it and such a wrestling nerd that losing it in that minutia is not good for someone who's just learning.
Looking at like the who's trained who, I actually think like the kind of guy you want to train you is someone that was a jobber or a jobber to the stars that had been a lot of places and worked with a lot of top talent. Like, because like if you take someone like Rip Rogers, like he's had a lot of success as a trainer, and I think like he was talented, but he's also like, well, I worked with Ric Flair, and this is like how Flair did this. You know what I mean? Like, I think you do get like a certain. Larry Sharp is another one that was kind of like a job guy. Les Thetcher, I don't think was, but he wasn't like a high end guy. I think some of those guys like end up like being better trainers because they kind of get like a more rounded perspective.
I would I would lean into the your decently successful mid carder as the guy you want to have doing your training, because they understand it enough to have some success, but obviously they're not so mega talented that everything just came naturally and it all clicked for them. Um,
I think
so
Scott
that
Hall might have been a good trainer if he was clean.
Scott Hall understood so much. Scott Hall might have fallen into the same thing I was talking about with Steve Austin, of understanding everything and being able to break it down. So, like that, those kinds of people would be like your finishing school. I think is where I would have them be. Those are your guys who are your seminars to say, this right here is the guy. You've gone through all this training and you've done some stuff and you're doing all right. Now you need to go to these guys to get the polish on your game. That's where my head would be at.
I guess Dusty's kind of an outlier in all of that. Dominic DeNucci was kind of an upper mid card gatekeeper for a lot of his run.
So that I would say that would kind of fit what I was talking about. Um, the only reason that I'm not all in agreeing with you on the jobber to the stars thing is because I would think you would also want someone who's had enough success that they can coach you through how to garner that kind of success. Does
Well,
that make sense?
I think Rip had like enough in like smaller areas. Rip was at least over. Even if he didn't win a
Yeah.
ton, Rip was always over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that month was interesting because the Bad Blood Taker Michaels Hell in the Cell also happened the same month as Ray and Eddie.
Oh, it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot all about that. That was so that the Halloween Havoc '97 has Ray Eddie and Macho DDP, and that I think that was one of the times DDP went over Macho, wasn't
No,
it?
he lost that one.
Did he?
He won. He won it uncensored or Spring Stampede, and then he won. He won the match where he dressed up as La Parka.
Yeah.
And Savage won this because I think there was some nefarious interference.
As is usual. Um, I can't remember what it was, but they tested a diamond cutter reversal on a show, and then they used that as a finish on a pay-per-view, and I can't remember what it was because it was the scoop slam reversal. Savage went to scoop slam Page. Page slipped down off of it, turned Savage around, caught him diamond cutter.
That was the Spring Stampede one, I think. The first match they did.
Okay.
Because that was the first one, and that's where they asked Savage what he wanted to do, and he was like, I think I'm taking the diamond cutter.
But they did that, and then Savage said, I think we've got our finish for something. And I can't remember what that.
No, that is how
I just now realized these notebooks were in the way of my camera.
That's how they. I didn't even notice it. That's how they ended that one because like DDP was kind of out on his shoulders, and then Savage went for the scoop slam, and then he slips out and he hits it and he pins him. That's how they did their first pay-per-view match. I mean, I don't know what the house show looked like at the time.
Okay. I would have hoped I could have kept that story straight in my head, but
it's hard because like all that stuff, like it bleeds together after 30 years, and you see a lot.
Yeah,
it
does a little bit. Yeah, it does. But this is a really good 15-minute match just because it's structured immaculately, and I believe that. How do I phrase this? There are plenty of matches that go longer and are successful at it. I mean, heck, on Redemption this past weekend, Kyle Fletcher and Bandito went longer than that, and that match just rocked.
I should have. I meant to look at how long Savage Warrior was. I don't know how long that is.
Now that one I think is going to be longer because they had the
Mania 7.
Yeah, it's going to be in that 15 to 20 minute range, I think.
Would have thought that would have been longer.
Their SummerSlam match, I think, was like in the 20 to 25 minute range. Which that match is excellent. I think that might have been the most shocked I ever was, like watching a pay-per-view, was how much I liked that match on a rewatch.
Which one?
The Savage Warrior title match at like SummerSlam.
Oh my god, yeah. We covered that entire show on this show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it as a kid, like loved Brett Davey, and didn't really care for Savage Warrior, and then watching it as an adult. I think I said, I know we did. Again, we don't do star ratings, but we kind of do. Like I felt Savage Warrior from SummerSlam '92 was probably like a 4-star match. I'd probably go 4 stars with it.
Yeah, that's what
Which things have gotten skewed because nowadays, like, I think Meltzer overrates stuff, but at the same time, he doesn't, in the sense that you could probably turn on any random not even a pay-per-view, like a random Dynamite or Collision, you can probably get like a 4-star match on AEW.
Yeah, we've talked about that. And the match was 20 minutes 47 seconds. With
okay, 20 minutes. Yeah.
I think there is a general inflation because I've talked about that, and I think that's part of the problem with like the super indies and like where ROH started getting into problems is like good wrestling doesn't sell itself anymore because like I could probably go find a barn with 20 people in it and butt fuck nowhere and see a 3.5-star match with two like hillbillies that are fans. Like, and so
we've become skewed. We've become skewed as like fans because like historically, like for most of our like fandom, like a 3.5-star match is like that's a perfectly good match. Not even like, oh, it's okay. It's like no, a 3-star and up, like a 3 to 3.5-star match. That's a good match.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that we are now in the last few years. It has been like such high quality. Yeah.
Last decade plus.
But we've had such higher quality stuff that it's like a 3-star match. Be like,
Well, that's like, kind of my point. Is like so. Like these promotions that still try to sell like, well, we have good wrestling, and it's like, well, no, I could go to a barn and see good wrestling. You need to like do the other shit good now. Like you need to have angles and characters I care about and stuff to get me to come back because like I said, the two hillbillies are probably going to charge me a lot less to watch them have just as good of a match.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think for a minute. We had the last KWF show, we had at least, off the top of my head, we had at least 2 3-star or more matches. While I'm there doing stuff, I don't really count it that way. I think about it. I'm like, okay, was this good? Did this person do good stuff? Especially if they're new. I'm like, okay, did this person do a good job? How do they handle things? Stuff like that. And, you know, did they did they perform at a level that we would be happy with them being on our show regularly? But I'm not like putting stars to it because that's not typically how I think of it. My usual thought process is, did this match accomplish what it set out to do? Then that's a good match.
Yeah, because like if you have like, I think JR talked about that on his first appearance on the show. This is years ago, where he was talking about like he was on some show and they were doing they were going to be doing like an ROH match or something up north. So they came in front of this crowd and did like an ROH match, and it just ate shit because like that's not what the crowd cares about.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't to their taste. So I think like in that context, it's a bad match. Like if you're not doing something the crowd cares about, like then that's an element that's removed. But yeah, that's my point is like you can go to pretty much any promotion and like you're going to get like a certain level of wrestling. And like I think just watching basic wrestling, like even WWE that has like a lot of bad wrestling, like there is like a certain level of,
they have capable people there. So I think it would be fair to say that depending on what your televised wrestling of choice is, you're going to have a skewed outlook. Because if you watch a lot of AEW, then you're going to end up with higher standards and higher
or New
expectations.
Japan or like Stardom.
If you watch WWE, then you're going to have like this big gap between stuff that just sucks and stuff that's pretty good. And so you don't have like we don't see a lot of like, well, we don't see it in WWE because they just don't have a lot of matches.
Well, and their quality's gone way down because I think there was like a solid, like 8-9 year area where the wrestling was pretty good, like from top to bottom, like from like maybe 2012 to like maybe 2021. like you could generally watch a show and you'd get like most of the matches would be pretty good, especially on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I was thinking of a different time frame, but you're probably right about that. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, it's been good for a while. And depending upon the promotion, depends upon like how much good stuff you get.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think most
it,
promotions, like of any size, you can depend on to give you at least like a top tier match, like a show.
yeah. But
I'm running through my head. I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
we are a little jaded though, because it's like the 80s, 90s. It's like if you had, let's say, an eight, and of the 8 matches, let's say you had 2 that were like 3 to 3.5, and 2 of those matches were like 4 stars and up, at least 4 stars. So of an 8-match show where them were like 3 to 4 stars, you'd be like, oh my god, amazing pay-per-view. Like, you gotta watch this show. Be like, nowadays, like if you got an 8-match show that 2 were like, and I'll say legitimately because, God love him, I think Dave, I don't know if he's ever admitted this, but it's that he grades like WWE on a curve. And he
talks. He said he does.
He said it in passing, where it's like, like as like a real, he has a come to Jesus moment at some points where it's like, oh wow, I really like kind of overrate WWE, like kind of get them. It's like, yeah, you give them the benefit of the doubt, where like Punk Roman from Mania, it's like, oh, 5 stars. It's like a 5-star WWE match is really like a 3.5 or 4-star match everywhere else. You're just you're like, you're grading on a curve. You're the person where it's like, well, this kid in my class got really, this really is like a 65.
No, he's talked about it
curve,
more than once.
With the curve, I bump you up to like a 70.
He'll talk. Like, he's talked about it before, where like how if he watches like, I think he's even said like he has to watch things a certain way because like if he watches like WWE like right after AEW or like New Japan or something, like it's such a fall off, he doesn't enjoy it.
Oh, you mean he doesn't want to give 4 stars to
I could see
Danhausen versus whomever.
I could see that though, like because I don't know. I probably would go along with that, like just to give WWE like a fair chance if I was in like his position. Like, thankfully I don't, because like we did like start this show like reviewing their pay-per-views and then we gave up. But like, if I had to be like objective like Dave is, I would probably like segment them away to like give them like a fair shot. And I probably would grade them on a curve too, like just to be honest with you. Like I probably not to the degree he is, but like I'd probably bump a lot of their stuff like half a star to a star. Just like
I feel like that. Then you have to preface it being like, I'm on the, this is, so I graded this on the WWE scale, guys. And people just know, because
it's
for
like,
example, because it struck it like this, like just wedged in my brain. I forget one of the pay-per-views they did in the last like 2 years. It's like Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sakai, 4 stars. I'm like, Dave,
hang on, wait. Let me see if I can do the face right. Really?
Like, good old Tim Robinson from
I was doing the MJF hand on the shoulder.
Like,
there's too many choices.
Yeah, it's like, this is not a 4-star match. But if you want to be like, it's a WWE 4, I'm like, okay, but then you need to specify that, and then be like asterisk, then you scroll down, asterisk, like everywhere else, this is probably like a 3-star match, maybe.
I think for me, like in that situation, I probably would grade them on a curve in some other promotions that I don't enjoy, just to try and like combat my bias. If I'm trying to be like an objective like reviewer for everything, I would probably like there would probably be companies that would be like, well, like I'm gonna give everything like depending like an extra half star or a star because like I'm biased against it and I need to try and like figure that into my ratings. And yeah, like I probably would. Like I said on here, like I combat my biases by just admitting straight up I don't like WWE. So if anyone like tunes in is like, well, you're a WWE hater, it's like, yeah, I am. And I tell you that. And I try
Yeah.
and even then, like there's stuff on here where like I probably pissed Matt and Shad off because like I do like devil's advocate for them just in the sense of fairness, but like that's just like
So
trying to be that's just trying to like I I just try to be fair even
yeah,
if I feel one way like I try
I
my
try
best
to
to be fair.
I try to be fair also. And the thing here's my example because this has just been a thing all day. Last night for the last 24 hours, I'll say that. And I want to clarify something. I am not dumping on the people who were in I'm not dumping on all of the people that were in the segment because it is 100% to me anyway, it's 100% clear what happened. So last night on Raw, they had this thing where they had Joe Hendry and Danhausen go out to do a concert thing. And I guarantee they were giving marching orders to get one line over. And it was supposed to be the I believe you are cursed like song line, but
Mhm.
they didn't. Okay, if you got two guys who have already made this gimmick work in the past and they know how to make it work. If Joe Hendry knows how to I mean, Joe Henry doesn't exactly do songs. He does promos. He sings his promos
Yeah.
to slam people. And Danhausen knows how to do Danhausen stuff. But then if you're like, okay, you're going to go out here and do this, it's not going to work because you're not letting the people do what got them over. And that is full bore a booking, production, whatever word we want to use for it thing. That's setting aside the misanthrope, misogynist, racist, possibly self-admitted KKK members showing up at the end of the segment. Like that's not even talking about that. I, do I look? Did I sour on Danhausen a bit? Yeah, because I felt like that the way he departed AEW was crappy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
am I down on Joe? I wasn't ever like super up on Joe Hendry. I thought the
He
meme
was like
stuff that he
kind of
did was I thought the meme stuff he did was fun
it was
and
kind of one
amusing.
note.
It was,
I
but it,
I
it
I
worked.
I have emphasized before, and I will stand by this, like his very short-lived, because he left to go back to New Japan, but his short-lived tag team with Uemura,
Yeah, that's the only
where it
thing
was
I really liked that he did.
Joe Hendry, it was Joe.
Yeah.
That's still fun because like they again this like the tag team lasted like a month in TNA,
Yeah.
and they had a whole like they did a whole intro and everything. And it's like da na 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 Joya. It's like it's fun. I
Yeah.
actually like say it. It's like this. It's dumb. It's dumb,
Yeah.
but it's dumb in the way that it's like this is only like in pro wrestling. It's something that's dumb, but it works and it's fun. I actually don't mind Joe Henry, but
He doesn't have like
that
enough to like
WWE, and they're doing it now with Danhausen, even like people like Dave Meltzer are like emphasizing it. But WWE has a habit where it's like, oh, this is popular, let's beat it into the ground.
yeah.
It's like they do that, they speed run that shit.
Yeah.
I think
And they did that with Hendry in like record time, and he didn't have like a ton. They're doing it now with Danhausen. He has a little more, but
well, and
I've never minded Hendry, but it's also like he doesn't have a lot, and you pushed
yeah.
him a lot.
Yeah.
Danhausen I think why Danhausen's being more resilient is like he really saved some dog shit segments.
But
But
they're
there was no saving this one last night
No,
because
no.
but like there's I've watched several segments with it where it's like Oh man, that was really bad. And like whoever wrote that is an idiot. But like Danhausen like kind of made it work and it was funny just
Yeah.
by being Danhausen. So like I think that's why he's had some more
But
resilience.
they're pushing it so much where he's everywhere on everything.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
if they were smart,
Mm-hmm.
like they should do the whole, Ron Killings. Like we could milk this guy for the next like decade
I think
thing
the problem is
with
though.
Hendry and Danhausen. They could do that where it's like you have him a little bit along. Like you definitely have like he either one of them pops up at least once or twice a month, but not like every week for multiple segments.
I think the problem with
Yeah.
Danhausen is he's the only thing getting like a reaction anywhere.
Well, and the other thing, and people like, I feel some people are confused by this. It's like you have to understand, it's not Vince run WWE. You could say it's like a Triple H Nick Khan. I guess more Nick Khan than Triple H.
I would
like
say it's
thing.
Triple
But
H, but
but Nick Khan as part of TKO and TKO's idea. It's like they are jock sniffers and star fuckers.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but that's been a WWE thing for like forever though.
it has been, but I feel like it's actually been cranked up to the point where let's be realistic, do WWE fans give a fucking shit about Ryan Garcia? Do they even know who that is?
I don't even think.
They
No,
don't.
I don't. The Ryan Garcia thing is weird to me because like his stock has fallen a lot because he got that big million by pay-per-view, but he's lost 2 fights since then. I think he's had a no contest because he couldn't make weight, but like I don't think outside of like combat sports like he's really like super well known. And I
No.
think his appeal to a lot of people is that he's kind of just like a train wreck.
He is a train wreck.
How can we phrase this properly? He is
He's kind of like clavicular if he had boxing talent.
oh god.
Well, he has okay. In defense, I don't think Ryan Garcia has yet committed vehicular homicide like clavicular. Well, no, did clavicular kill that guy when he ran him over? No, I don't think he killed him.
I don't think he killed Okay.
He hasn't done attempted vehicular homicide, we'll say then.
I think it might be just fair to say that there's plenty of people that anyway, the point I was getting at.
Well, I would say
Go
this,
ahead.
Chad. Sorry to cut.
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia is probably both somehow a better boxer than Jake Paul and a bigger piece of shit human being than Jake Paul.
Well, he
which
started.
it's like that's impressive.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. That's kind of impressive.
Garcia like started.
Not the boxing thing, because Jake Paul's like kind of he's always mostly like fought tin cans.
Well,
Yeah.
Jake Paul
Outside of the
started.
Mike Tyson thing, which I do believe was like Mike Tyson. Like
Jake Paul
fixed.
started too late to really like be super good at it. Like to be like a really great boxer, unless you're like exceptionally skilled, you have to start like as a teenager or younger.
I will give that. I hate to give the Paul brothers credit, but both of those guys, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, they are actually like athletic.
Yeah.
And I bring that point up because I've also beaten the drum about CM Punk. It's like it's actually like I don't like giving him credit, but it's a testament to CM Punk that he's done as much as he has in the wrestling business and has reached the level that he has for having so little athletic ability. And a guy like Logan Paul has actually legitimately high athletic ability, but he's a shitty pro wrestler because he just choreographs the shit out of things. Well, it's like if you actually applied yourself, you could be a really, really great wrestler. And I thought he was going to be when he first started. Well, but it's like you just choreograph shit.
I just didn't want to see him.
The problem for like Logan Paul though is, I think when they protected him, he looked really good. But like for him to be really good at it, like they need to grind him like working like 3 to 5
Yeah.
days a week for like years, and they don't do that anymore. And like I don't
No.
think he's a good pro wrestler, but like you can't be good like wrestling 4 times a year.
I also don't think he's particularly good because his stuff just does not look. It doesn't look solid.
Well, I think
He rips off the buckshot lariat and it looks like instead of Hangman does a buckshot and it's like whoa, he just goes through you, and Paul does a buckshot and he flip over, bing.
but
I'm
I think
exaggerating, but
reps would help with that though. And like his brother Jake, like people rip on him as a boxer, but like I mean, like he does like do gimmicky fights, but like he is like a talented. He has
they have athletic
yeah.
They have athletic talent, and I understand obviously that there is a wrestling IQ aspect of this. But in terms of just athletic ability, like Logan Paul would be better than he would if it was like back in the day the territory is like grinding. He's just out there grinding. You actually have him in the territories working like 5-6 matches a week.
And I think
like he'd be good. He'd be good. Now,
and I
you
think
could say like, well, does he have the wrestling IQ that it's like he's going to become great because he picks up the non-tangible assets or aspects of it, or he gets like he mentally puts the strings together for everything, the presentation. I don't know.
I think it
would
would help because like when you're working like 3 to 5 times a day, like some of the more outlandish shit he does that looks bad is going to turn into that really fucking hurts when I have to do that every night. Like, so I'm going to only do that like on big occasions or like figure out how to make it hurt less, which I think, again, we kind of talked about earlier is kind of how creative limitations like actually help you a lot of times.
yeah.
Like, that's why people talk about that, like with a lot of stuff like, well, creators should just create. It's like, well, no, because then you get shit like Alan Moore without an editor. A lot of times, like someone saying no creates like and friction like creates better creativity, especially when you're trying to like work around limitations or even like kind of doing like a subtle fuck you.
Yeah.
Like a great example of like limitation creating something entertaining is AC/DC's Big Balls, like which is about radio
where
censoring.
Where they had to make it all.
It's about ballroom dancing.
Yeah. Where they had to not exactly make it innuendo because it's a bit direct for being innuendo.
Double
but it's
entendre.
It's not explicit. It's damn near single entendre, but
yeah. Oh, if you haven't heard it, it's quite hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and then if you look at the concert version, they just outright say it. They're just like, oh, No, I'm thinking of that's not the right one. I'm thinking of the Jack. That's the one I was thinking of because they just outright instead of saying she's got the Jack, it's like she's got the clap when they do it in concert, and I'm just like, because I didn't know that. I've never gotten to go to an AC/DC show in person, so and this is the nerdiest way for me to say it. But when I got the AC/DC live pack for Rock Band and fired that up with my buddies, and it's like, oh, we'll do, we just went down the list and like we did this like, oh, hey, all right. I didn't expect the word discharge in an AC/DC song, but here we go. Wow, they just coming right out with it, aren't they?
But yeah, I think quite a few of those people, if they had to do something every night and were like, oh, that really fucking hurts and I don't have like a week to recover, they'd stop doing some of that dumb shit. Not Darby. Darby would be like, take that as a challenge.
Darby's built different.
No, that's what I've said about Darby, and I know we've all seen him live. Like, if you see Darby live and you start seeing how he like moves and falls and stuff, you're kind of like, oh, okay, like this makes more sense why he can do all this crazy stuff. Because like there's he's very fluid,
Got
like that, he's very fluid. The way he moves, like the way he falls, is like very interesting. Like he almost prat falls even if he's falling like right on his back. Like it
there
really,
there there is something to that. I knew someone once that they were involved when they played sports, and like, not, I'll say contact sports, but not, it was football. It wasn't like, MMA, wrestling, things like combat sports, but contact, where you could get hurt because you're tackling people, you're getting
yeah,
tackled, whatever. Uh, I knew this person, and they like never got any serious injuries, even though it'd be like playing football and tackling or being tackled, you know, very big, large men, and never got hurt. And I mean, I'm sure that there, I'm not a medical professional to explain, or a sports medicine person, but there are ways that you can do this to minimize the injury. And this person that I knew who did this, he said, like, yeah, like, I hit people in football, like, I will hit them, and I'll hit them very hard, and then basically, like, effectively physically, from the physics, like, literally the science of physics, the force gets basically transposed from me to them. So, like, I'm fine, like, maybe they're hurt, but the shock is everything. It's like, it's the other person. And that was like hitting two other people. But it's kind of the same with Darby, where it's like, he does things in a way that I don't know how, but he seems like he knows what he has to do,
yeah.
that he doesn't get grievously injured, where it's like, I'm going to fall, but I'm going to do it in a way that it's like this, the force is like dispersed. But
He's
the thing is, like, he does the craziest of bumps and shit. It's like, I'm going to take this big, from like 20 feet in the air, a back bump into glass. It's like,
yeah.
why?
He's like he's like when you go watch like a major league pitcher and like you watch the way they like their arm motion, like, oh yeah, they're gonna be able to throw a 90-mile fastball forever because like they have this like super natural, like easy release. And then you watch like some other guy that like is Tasmanian deviling his pitches, you're like, oh yeah, that guy's gonna need Tommy John in like 2 years.
I'm in my 40s and playing catch with my like 6-year-old. If I don't throw it the right way, I'm like, I'm gonna feel that tomorrow. Like,
No, if I don't do my wind up just even like to play catch, like my whole elbow is just like, oh, I did that wrong. And like it
mm,
comes out of my hand weird. Like I can tell if it's gonna come out just by like the motion, like, oh, that's gonna come out of my hand wrong.
Look, I am beat up enough and at an age enough where I have to have certain, when I go to bed, I have to have certain pillows properly to support my head and neck, or else I'm going to be in pain all next day. Um, it's a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
In well, in any event,
Well, I think that's it
I
for
think that
this. Yeah.
that does it.
When's SummerSlam?
next
Coming
weekend.
weekend,
Oh,
yeah.
wait, is it this weekend?
No, I think.
Thanks.
Oh, no, it's the first weekend of August. So
Oh,
it's
it is
not
this
this
week.
weekend.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, no shit, that is this weekend,
the
right?
first and second is Saturday, Sunday.
We might talk about that next week. I don't think it's going to be particularly interesting or good. So,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
um,
I will not be here next weekend. Next week,
no.
I'm going on vacation and going to the beach.
Oh, okay. Well
So
then,
I'll be ignoring this. I'll studiously be
so
ignoring SummerSlam.
Shad and I will probably be talking about comic books then, because I do. There is. I do have a topic I want to cover, which is, um, I just thought of it because I just got like a Hawkman trade, and it was characters that you like love the concept of, but they've never had like consistently good writing behind them. So like
Mm.
you don't like actually read books for them, which is Hawkman for me. Other than like
Mhm.
a run here and there, I'm always like, man, I really love Hawkman. Like, I love the story. I like his look. Like, I like the character. And then it's like, oh yeah, I don't read Hawkman comics because they're like 9 times out of 10 they're like
It's
total disappointment.
so the thing that I have first blush on that, and I'll need to work in order to get like names down for you. And it's because it was an ensemble book, but there are lots of characters that were in the Justice Society that I really liked. But since it's an ensemble book, they don't spotlight much. And it's
Stargirl
like
is probably another one I kind of.
Stargirl is one. Um,
Dr. Midnight. There's a lot of people from that. Oh, Wildcat is one of my favorites.
um, I like the concept and all the stuff behind Dr. Fate, but the problem is that they had to incapacitate him every arc. Otherwise,
Yeah, I
he would
know.
just solve the problem. Um, so
The Demon, I love the Demon, and I don't think he's ever really had a great solo book. He's not. He was.
are
I
you
think
talking
he.
about Etrigan?
Yeah. I
No,
especially.
Etrigan's more of a supporting character. I don't
Yeah.
think you can main character. Anyway, we'll get into that later. And then we are going to have Matt's retrospective on the Shadow Rising from the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Oh, we can.
So I'm slowly. It's gonna be like a multi-year project because it's like there's 14 goddamn books in this series.
You've done pretty
we
good
did
so
one-
far.
but the series is finished. It
I'm
is
trying-
finished.
Well, no, it's it took like forever, and Robert Jordan dying for the to get finished.
But here's the thing: he set stuff up so that someone could finish it.
Yeah.
yes,
He's
and
not doing.
I'm
He's not doing what Fat Beard Man is doing, where it's never getting finished.
well, yeah. I'm working at so that I'm finishing roughly like 2 Wheel of Time books a year. So we did cover book 1 and 2, and I don't want people to give me hate like why you're only doing 2 a year, because these books are like 600 to 1,000 pages long. They're not like short books; they're long books.
You're probably reading like a half hour to an hour a night if you're lucky.
And not even a night. Like I try my aim just generally like reading books.
Yeah.
I try to read ideally a book within like 3 months. And if I'm picking a 600-page book, which like that, I'm saying like that, I'm basing on a 600-page book, then in like a week I have to read like 50 pages, which can be very doable. But only really if it's because you could be like, I'm gonna read 10 pages in a day. You could be like, I'm gonna read 10 pages and stop. But sometimes books are more dense than others. Sometimes I read it and it's like, oh, I need to think about this. Like, So like 50 pages is doable, but when you have 1,000 pages, it's like even like if you do 50 pages in a week over 3 months, that's 600 pages.
Yeah.
But if it's 1,000 pages, it's like shit. I'm like,
yeah.
So these Wheel of Time books are long,
and
they're long.
You're heading into the longest couple of books.
Yeah, like Shadow Rising was 1,000 pages or close to it. And
Lord of Chaos is, I think, the longest book, and then they start tapering down again.
Here's the thing: Lord of Chaos rocks, though.
Yeah, Lord of Chaos is the best book.
We do need to do it because we did books 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and then I read this year so far. I've read. Oh wait, have I? Or was it like last year?
I think it was like the end of last year.
Between like the very end of 2025 and then like the spring to summer of 2026. Now I've read books 3 and 4. So I actually aim to read book 5 by the end of the year, but probably won't start that until like October. But yeah, we need to do a book club where we talk about Wheel of Time. I will say, like, of the 4 books, for the first 2, I liked the second book over the first one. Book 4, Shadow Rising, probably is Leapfrog too. My favorite of the 4.
You're heading into the best. If we broke it down into trilogies, like the second trilogy of books is the best in the series.
That's your read.
Which is like, people have said that and have read that, and it's made me nervous because I'm like, but there's 14 books, so it'd be like, books 4 through
only
6 are the best of it. I'm like,
Here's
but
the
I
thing.
have
there's
I
only
have
one
like 8
really
more books
there's
after
only
that.
one
Like
really
I'm
bad.
like,
There's one really bad book, and then it's
And it is, I believe that it had the reputation when the books were coming out, but I believe that the bad reputation on that book is overblown now that you have everything available to read all
but
of
at
it.
the
I'm
time
going to
it
sit on
was
that.
but at the time it was an unacceptable.
It was really frustrating, and it was, the author admitted it was an experiment that did not work.
The problem you run into, Matt, is it slows down because he kind of starts getting a little up his own butt, and then that book happens, and then he realizes, oh, I'm way off track, I need to get it back together, and then that's about when he died.
He
So
tightened it up, and
well,
the world expands out a little bit because
we
there's
will cert
characters and you've got to do stuff with them.
and then
we will certainly
Sanderson is like kind of an adjustment you have to make in a lot of
we will
ways.
we will certainly get into it when we have the episode discussing, but
Yeah.
I did feel that book 4 was the best paced
Well,
of
because
the first 4
Yeah.
books. And when I actually read,
it was
and
only
y'all have probably
supposed to be like, I don't remember how it was supposed to be far fewer books when it started. So like that's why the pace picked
That's
up in
okay.
4.
Here's
well,
the
when
thing.
when I read the first book, I'm like, well, clearly, however he started this journey, he decided at some point, it's like, well, actually, I should do a multi-book series. But I don't know that he conceived like I'll do 14 books. Like I don't
No,
think he
it
conceived
it,
that.
it kind
But
of it had feature
y'all
creep.
y'all already probably knew this, but when I found out that, at least for many of the books, maybe all the books before he died, but when I found out like, oh, his wife was the editor, I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
that's
So,
why
yeah.
your pacing was all over the fucking place, because I have criticisms. I have criticisms about. I really did not necessarily like book 3, and I can put
I'm
all my hate
surprised I
towards
liked
that.
book
And
3 a
book
lot.
4, I have like lots of many good things about, so I'll say book 4. But
Yeah. We'll get into it.
Yep.
That'll
okay.
not next week, but maybe the one after.
Don't forget there's the prequel book too that you need to read around like 8
which
or 9.
is much shorter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one is, the recommendation is don't get into that one after book 6.
Yeah.
New Spring comes after that. Anyway, we'll just
Yep. Next 2 weeks from now on that.
yeah, we'll just yeah.
Okay, well, everyone, thank you for joining us as always. This has been Matt, Shad, and Brad. We've been in 3 Corners, and you've been in the 4th. Thank you for watching as always, and we will catch you next time.